As long as they have 5 or 6 shelters, you are doomed.
Right.
You are doomed.
Yeah.
As long as 5 or 6 countries don't cooperate, you are doomed.
Uh-huh.
They go there, they look for shelter, they wait, and then they strike again.
There's no substitute for international cooperation. We have to all have confidence and trust on one another so as to share intelligence information, for instance, so as to track financial assets that terrorists may have and freeze them. That kind of thing is what we need.
We are faced also with the problem of an intense armed trafficking around the world, and we know, all of us, that armed trafficking is connected with terrorism and connected with drugs and connected with money laundering. I mean, it's obvious that these weapons come from a rich country. Mm-hmm. We know who is, but nobody does anything about it.
Mm-hmm. These are weapons that unfortunately circulate around the world because producing and exporting countries have not had the political will to truly mark and trace those weapons as should be done. You know, a Coca-Cola can, you can trace it from the moment it's been produced to where it has been put on the shelf, to where it has been consumed, and where it has been thrown into the trash, and where it's being recycled. A smaller light weapon, you can't, because we don't have an international binding instrument whereby all producing and exporting countries must mark their weapons.
These are the selection of the mines we find in the province. American, Egyptian, these are from the Soviet bloc, Chinese or South African copy, Belgium, Romanian, Italian, German, Russian, Israeli, Cuban. Every country that's ever produced a mine, it's probably here.
International corporations which are economically stronger than the countries they reside in.
Not only are a number of corporations more powerful than most of the nations on Earth, but they heavily influence the most powerful of nations. When we were taught to pledge allegiance to this flag, it clearly was to the great founding spirit and guiding ideals of our country, not to corporate bylaws, corporate mission statements, or dedication to profit and bottom lines, no matter how much they wear the flag. Many do great works, but as President Eisenhower warned us of the rising military-industrial complex, international corporations need the regulation, the transparency, and the leadership that can continuously transform them to the benefit of the higher aspects of our human ingenuity and community. What is the best America offers? We won't be the superpower forever, I know. But
yes, but for a few years you will be. Yes.
We have a great opportunity, don't we?
Yes.
We have a great opportunity.
But China is coming, and I was in December. I was in China for a meeting of United Nations, and I was a few years in Beijing, and I had the feeling that this huge country is mounting it as. I mean, in 50 years, things will be changed.
Maybe 20 or...
Yes,
yeah.
maybe, yes.
That's why it's to our advantage, I think, to establish international norms.
Yes.
And to be concerned with justice, because when China becomes number one, we know they have a history of, well, like Tibet, and I mean, they have... Human rights has not been top on their, on their shelf.
For the lack of a better term, I call it glorification of military might. Once power and military might is glorified, the consequence is indeed horrifying. Why do I say this? Because the only thing that prevents people from resorting to brute force is acceptance of some common values. If you looked at the coverage of the Iraq War, You saw the simply destruction of various places as if something good was happening.
Those embedded journalists coming with the US troops, with all this paraphernalia of media, of cameras on satellite and everything, we were seeing how bombs were landing, touching, big explosion. What we didn't see, dead people from the other side. So this is something that the other side of the equation, you won't find it in the big media of this country or international media, that this is also controlled by the media of this country.
Yeah.
So you know that 90% of the media, of the huge, the major journalists, or the so-called dailies all over the world, everything is interconnected. This is a chain. This is like the big alliance. And this is, we are not talking. And they say, no, this is the freedom of press. Freedom of press of what? So we are counting now the U.S. soldiers or the U.S. GIs, but we are not counting the Iraqis. Nobody is counting how many Iraqis has been dying after the invasion or during the invasion or before the invasion. And they are human beings, like the GIs or like anyone else. We are all human beings.
It's very sad because there are so many soldiers that have been killed, and the families must be very sad.
Yeah.
It's very sad. Terrible situation of children in the world now. Children in war, because children sometimes are enlisted, children of 14 and 13 years of age. Terrible.
It is terrible.
The situation.
We want peace for Vietnam. We don't want to see war anywhere. Not in Middle East, not in Iraq. And if you saw what people, are suffering from, this kind of, hostilities, going on there, it's a pain, to see that.
I would be the happiest man in the world if Bosnia could be non-military zone.
Yeah.
As a person who was in the war from 1992 to 1995 and who saw all the nightmare of the conflict, I look with a more optimistic view for the future than it was immediately after the war when everything was really destroyed.